There are a lot of cameras out on the market that are more powerful, have more features, higher resolution, better low light performance, and can do things that this camera can't. Today I'm going to give you 10 reasons why I still recommend the Canon M50 Mark II to a lot of people. The first reason why I recommend the M50 Mark II is that it's so easy to use. I have so many people that come up to me and say, I want to start to learn photography, or I want to start shooting video, or I want to start a YouTube channel, but I don't know anything about cameras. And if your gear is not easy to use, it adds a lot of friction to the creative process and you're way less likely to use it. If every time you try to take a picture, or every time you try to record a video when you're on vacation, you feel like you have to fight your camera to get it to work, you'll just say forget it and use your phone. When I look at all the gear that I have here to record my videos, ergonomics and ease of use were right there at the top of my list of priorities. There are a few binary features, like features that I absolutely needed to have, like unlimited recording, but beyond that, ease of use and ergonomics were it. Yes, I always want good quality, but if I end up leaving the camera at home, it doesn't matter how good the low light performance is or how impressive the dynamic range, because I don't have the camera with me to use. Now the next reason is an extension of the first one. The M50 Mark II produces great color. It's related to the first point because it means that I don't have to edit my footage or my images if I don't want to. So it's another factor in making the camera easy to use. I always shoot my photos in JPEG and RAW, so if I really want all the flexibility when it comes to editing, I can always go back to the RAW file, but it's very rare that I actually end up doing that. Now, a lot of people don't know how or simply aren't interested in bringing their photos into Lightroom and working with them, and they simply want a nice image right out of the camera. And that's something that I think the M50 Mark II excels at. Number 3 on this list is the fact that the M50 Mark II is small and light, and so are the lenses. Of all the cameras that I own, and there are a lot of them, just ask Christy, like virtually every single one is bigger than the M50. Now there are times when it's not an issue, but if I want a small and light camera body and lens to put in my pocket and go do some vlogging, I love how small the M50 Mark II and the original M50 are. If I'm going on a hike or if I'm traveling, I'd rather not bring a big and heavy camera setup if I can avoid it. And when I want to go do some street photography, there's a real advantage to being a little more stealthy with a small setup. And the next reason I like the M50 Mark II is accurate and easy to use autofocus. A good autofocus is a feature that I place a very high priority on. If the photo or video are not in focus, pretty much nothing else matters. Now, in addition to the autofocus being accurate, it's also easy to use. And there are a few basic options to choose from. There's face and eye detection, and then you're all set. Like some other camera systems have 3 or 4 menu items that control autofocus, and each one of them has a lot of confusing options. Now there's an advantage to that because it gives you that added layer of control, and you can really nail down the autofocus to work for each specific situation. But for the majority of people, it can quickly become overwhelming and backfire because they don't have the proper choices selected. If you're still with me and have gotten value from this video, give it a thumbs up. It lets me know what kind of content you like so that I can make more of it. And I still see that over 90% of you are new viewers, so hit that subscribe button. The fifth reason I like the M50 Mark II has to do with audio. Audio is an incredibly important aspect of video. And if you're not using an external microphone, you're really doing your video a disservice. And the M50 Mark II has a built-in mic input, so you can use a shotgun microphone or a wired lavalier or even a wireless mic system, which lets you move around and always get great audio. Now the sixth reason has to do with monitoring audio, where unlike the original M50, the Mark II does show you the audio levels right on the screen, both before and during recording. Now I have a video about a few reasons why you may not want to choose the M50 Mark II, where I made a mistake and I reported that this feature wasn't available. And by the way, that video was not designed to confuse you. It's just a listing of features that aren't available on the M50 Mark II. And if those are features that you think you must have, then the M50 Mark II wouldn't be a good choice. So for example, 4K video. The Mark II can shoot in 4K, but it has some limitations. So if you decide that you absolutely must shoot in 4K, I would recommend a few other options. Now, the next reason why I love the M50 Mark II is the fully articulating touchscreen. This is another element that goes back to ease of use, and it makes the M50 Mark II so simple to operate. We're so used to our phones, tablets, and other touch-enabled devices, so changing settings and selecting an autofocus point on the screen using your finger instead of having to use buttons or dials on the back just feels really organic, and it's an excellent way to interact with a camera. Now, the fact that the screen is fully articulating means that you can always have it facing you, whether you're behind, above, below, to the side, or even in front of the camera. Now, I use this feature all the time. So if I want to take a shot from a low angle, then I can just open this up and then have the screen facing up so I can properly frame my shot. If there's a group of people in front of me and I have to hold the camera up in the air, I can just, not that way, go this way and have the screen pointed down. And then again, I can look up, see how my shot is framed, and take it. When I do product photography or macro work, I'm sometimes to the side of the camera. So I can have the screen facing this way or that way. And again, I can always see exactly how my shot is framed. And then finally, if I'm in front of the camera, of course I can flip the screen all the way this way. And then again, I can see that I'm properly framed and that I'm in focus. Now this brings me to the 8th feature, which is the record button right on the screen. This is a small feature and one that I immediately liked when I saw it on another camera. I know it seems like it's not a big deal, but being able to hit record with the screen facing me without having to fumble and find the record button is great. Sometimes I have the M50 Mark II on a gimbal and I don't want to mess with the motors by pressing down on the shutter. And again, to be able to lightly touch the screen to start and stop recording is awesome. Now, by the way, if you watched my M50 video tutorial, you saw that I programmed the shutter button to start and stop recording because it's much easier than trying to press this little red record button. Well, this is sort of taking things to the next level. Now, the 9th reason I like the M50 Mark II is the EVF, or electronic viewfinder. I get a lot of questions about the M50 Mark II versus the SL2 or SL3 or another similarly priced DSLR. At this point, it's going to be challenging for me to pick a DSLR over a mirrorless camera for photography because the electronic viewfinder is such a better choice. And first of all, it actually shows you your exposure. So as you make adjustments to aperture, shutter speed, and ISO, you will see the image get brighter or darker right in front of your eye in real time. Now next, the autofocus is so much better and you have face and eye detection, and there are so many more autofocus points. So for example, the SL2 and SL3 have 9 autofocus points when you're looking through the optical viewfinder. The M50 Mark II has 143 autofocus points. Now, of course, those DSLRs don't have face or eye detection, but even cameras like the 90D, which is a DSLR and does have face detection in the optical viewfinder, can't compete with the M50 Mark II's autofocus in terms of accuracy and versatility. The next reason I like the M50 Mark II is a clean HDMI output. And that means that the camera can send out a clean signal and it can be used to stream or record externally. Now, a lot of people immediately think of live streaming in terms of gaming or a YouTube channel, which this camera can absolutely do. But you can also use it as a webcam for Zoom and then get much better quality than your laptop camera or webcam. You can use the EOS Webcam Utility app to connect this camera directly to your computer for the easiest connection. But if you want the best quality out of the M50 Mark II, I would recommend using a capture card because it gives you the highest resolution. Now, if that's something that you're interested in, I'll put some links in the description to a few of my favorite capture cards. Now, another option with the clean HDMI is to record externally, meaning not to the SD card that's in the camera. You can do it with an external recorder like the Atomos Ninja 5 if you need to be portable. But if you're by a computer, you can use free software like OBS and simply hit record to bypass the 30-minute recording limit. Remember that I have links in the description to all the products that I talked about. Hopefully this video was helpful. Click on my face to subscribe and then watch one of these videos. Remember what I always say, buy it nice or buy it twice. Good luck and see you soon.